Folks, a very good evening to each and every one of you. Let's fight. Great to have each and every one of you in the ring this evening and ringside as well. Good to have all of you. As you guys know, we're going to wait till we're at a certain magic number until some of you have come on, and then we are going to start. I am locked and loaded. We're ready to go. I did my training. I hope you guys can get to the 12th round with me. I know I can make it. I know I can go the distances, whether or not you can. I know I can do the distance, folks. A good night to all of you, whether you're joining us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're still trying to get around LinkedIn and Instagram. But as soon as we're able to do that, we're going to join the folks at that end as well. So, you know, the price of admissions is to share the live stream, folks. And I'm going to encourage each and every one of you to do exactly that. Our guest is already with us. He's going to be with us while we go through the paces as per normal. But I told you guys, we are ready to go at our end. We don't play here, you know. We came to work and we're ready to get to work, folks. So what you got to do, share the live stream at your end. And I'm not only asking you to do that, I'm going to share the live stream a couple of places myself. So I am happy to have all of you here. I don't like the way my eye is looking for some reason. Is it a little twisted? I'm gonna try that. I like looking good for you guys, you know. I don't know how it is. I don't know how it is, but I like looking good for you guys. My guest is ready to go. We are gonna go through the paces and then we're gonna get right with him. My guest for the evening. Guys, we're gonna ask you to share the live stream. That is all we ask. When you guys come on, that you share the live stream. I mean, what else could you ask for? We don't beg you up for money. We don't beg you up for lunch. We just go to Parliament for the devil is a liar. Share the live stream, folks. Share the live stream. We want to see a lot of shares when we come over to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Retweet and subscribe on Twitter. Folks, you all notice my accent, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. Hope you guys had a good day at work. Hope you guys put in the 8 hours and you're going to earn some pay. Honestly, some folks have been talking about my salary. We're going to talk a little about that too before our guest comes on. But he's ready to go. We're not going to keep him waiting for much too long. We're going to get right into it. So while you guys share the live stream and we creep up to our magic number, I am going to share as well at my end, and so we can get started. So you guys are looking great out there. I'm seeing a lot of folks have been sharing already, and of course we're heartened by that. So the rest of you all take instructions now. You must learn to listen. Learn to listen and then follow instructions. I'm going to share it a couple places too, because I know how to follow my own instructions. I'm just telling you what to do. I'm also doing the same. All right, and then we're going to get to our hot topics, and then we're going to get to our guests. Movements, no time to waste tonight. Movements, peoples, movements. Good to see all of you. You're looking so nice out there. Seeing a lot of people sharing, a lot good. Guys, I'm so grateful. So grateful to Brenda and Diane and Patrick. I'm picking up an accent, you know. We're the oil producing Republic of Guyana. Elizabeth, Patricia, all the folks joining us. We are grateful to have each and everyone. I need to share one other place, and then I'm going to be good to go right down to the hot topic. So, guys, don't let me waste time. Come back to the Creole now. Don't let me waste time, people. Let's get to going. Waiting for that magic number. Waiting for that magic number, right? We don't start talking when 100 people on. You think we infantile? We wait till the folks join us and then we are ready to go. All right, we're getting there, folks. I love it. I love what we're seeing this evening. And our guest who is standing by never disappoints us. This guy is a straight shooter. And I was in a meeting early on in the day with the leader of the opposition, and he was saying just as much. There are some things only he can put it in the way he puts it in and gets his point across. So, folks, I'm ready to go. Share this live stream because we're not gonna start until we get enough folks on, because we don't like repeating ourselves, and they got some people in this country always late, perennially late. Train yourself to be early. That is why some of y'all are getting this raise of pay, and so forth, because y'all like to be late for work and so on. All right, you like to be late for work and so on, and you're keeping back some other folks who show up on time, and it's not fair to them. It's a new year. It's 2021. It's February, folks. Let's get it together. Today's is 16. Tomorrow's payday. Asking for myself. You see, I want to go to Parliament and eat all the people lunch, I'm asking for myself. Eat all the people food. Some of these hungry belly, others not. No, not Dharamlal, not the Deputy Speaker, Schumann. No, it's the rest of us. It's only some of we got appetites. The rest of us live on the goodness and the grace of God. All right, we're creeping up to that magic number. Creeping up. Guys, I'm so ready to go tonight. I'm so locked and loaded. And I don't want to have our guests standing by for too long. So, topics, folks. What are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about a couple of things in our hot topics, and then we're going to get right to our guest. Are you guys ready? Are you guys standing by? We're going to talk about a couple of things in our hot topics. Now I see some of y'all share. Folks, we learned during the course of today that there were 4 prisoners who left the Mazaruni prison. They left the Mazaruni prison, including 2 who were convicted murderers. And I'm picking up, this is coming out of Starbuck News, who says that the police, in a statement, said that Imran Ramsewa, Kenrick Light, Samuel Govaya, and Ryan Jones are wanted by the police for leaving the lawful custody today from the Kayuni Mazaruni facility. The police appeals to members of the public, relatives and friends to give any relevant information as to the whereabouts of the escapees so that they can be recaptured or captured and returned to the prison facility. So again, these guys are dangerous. They are Imran Ramsewa, Kenrick Light, Samuel Govaya, and Ryan Jones. So if you have any information as it concerns their whereabouts, you are asked to report to the nearest police station. As well, in hot topics for this evening, we have some information pertaining to this boat. And I was asking the question earlier whether the boat has been towed into shore as yet. Some news entity by the name of Daily News, we're picking this up from, who said that they had some first image of the boat with decomposed bodies. I am seeing just some water at the bottom of this boat and some what looks like debris, but this news entity, Daily News Guyana, says that these are the first pics of the bodies in the boat. And so we are continuing to follow this story, and we're going to have details when it becomes available to us folks. In other hot topics, Reynard Ward, a member of the AFC, is reported to have resigned from the party. In other news, I seem to have caught the attention of the fraudulent vice president, Mr. Bar Jagdio, who went into my salary description and my employment record for some reason during his recent press conference. And this was drawn to my attention recently. And this is what he had to say.
Ramjattan earning $1 million a month for doing nothing.
Interesting. Firstly, I took the salary from Chronicle that was given to me. I've never taken anything that was not mine. And then about this cushy job at the Ministry of Public Infrastructure with Minister Ramjattan, as the Vice President says. Now, I earned approximately, I think it was $236,000 gross, and the take home was $195,000. Whether I was entitled to earn $1 million a month is news to me. But if they are payments owing for certain, I am not adverse to receiving any difference in payment, because apparently this job should have attracted $1 million per month, as the vice president has said. But I only receive take home $195,000 a month. So if there are sums owing to me, I wish to draw this to the attention of the permanent secretary, Ms. May, at the ministry there, and of course the minister. As a matter of fact, the ministry has gratuity owing to me currently, so they can add that to whatever else. As the vice president said, I was supposed to be receiving $1 million a month, but I was only receiving $195,000 take home. Folks, in other news, we are along with this story, it has come to our attention that at the Central Housing and Planning Authority, the chief co-ops development officer, as we're talking about people and jobs, was fired, and her replacement has only 3 CXC subjects. So we're bringing this to the attention of those who think that people should be aptly qualified for these high posts and this huge salary that they're earning. We are also being told that at the Ghana Tourism Authority, there's a high official there who also has just a few subjects, and this person earns in excess of $1 million per month. So perhaps this is the individual that the vice president was talking to. But again, I don't want to cheat myself by any means out of any salaries that were due to me. The vice president said I should have been earning $1 million, and I've published my pay slip, I've published my contract publicly during the course of the day. So I'm asking that the Minister of Home Affairs, former Ministry of Public Security, and the permanent secretary there look into this matter urgently for me, in addition to the outstanding gratuity that is owed. Folks, the leader of the opposition held a press conference during the course of the day, specifically based on the national budget, and I want to give you some of his reactions. We touched on some of this last evening, but I want to give you some of the leader of the opposition's reaction to the 2021 budget. Firstly, he says that the 2021 budget is vacuous. It points to the disarray in the PPPC government. That's one of the points that was made during the presser. In addition to that, he went on to say that my friends tell me that I should not use the word lies. So I will say that the budget is littered with terminological inexactitudes. Terminological inexactitudes. Folks, you've learned something this evening. So you don't say the person is lying. So Mr. Jagdo didn't lie when he said he was earning $1 million per month. He was using terminological inexactitudes, folks. Other reactions to the national budget by the leader of the opposition. He said the budget is like a jet. The wheels are taken off. The cockpit is malfunctioning and the pilot is flying a dream. The budget hasn't taken off as yet, but it has crashed. And finally, the leader of the opposition said that this budget, I think I have the same quotation twice, so moving right on with that, ladies and gentlemen, the former president, Mr. Donald Ramotar, blasts the management of GUYSUCO in a letter to the editor today, and that brings us to our close-up segment for tonight, and will take us into the good night to all except. Good night to all except. First, in the close-up, and with that, I welcome my guest this evening, Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan, the leader of the Alliance for Change, and also a member of Parliament, former Minister of Public Infrastructure. Mr. Minister, a very good evening. And my old boss.
Thanks very much.
And my old boss, paying me $1 million a month, that was paying me $236,000, of which I was taking home net $195,000. Sir, I don't know. I'm prevailing upon you to talk to the new minister who has.
Well, Sharad, I am absolutely certain that is a lie. And that man does lies in an exceptional way. I have called him the con artist of the century from Guyana. And that is how he, I mean, is successful in whatever his endeavors, be the endeavors to expel a Ramjattan from the party, or to shelve a Ralph Ramkaran and a Moses Nagabutu, or to do as he is doing today, and especially in sugar. I want to say that I will be talking much on that tonight, as you ask me to. And probably we can bring that in relation with the budget and what is underscored on the sugar in the budget. I have indicated, Sharad, on a number of occasions at press conferences from the AFC and also the programs like this in the ring, that sugar has a policy now that exemplifies an ethnicization policy of the PVP. There's no doubt in my mind. They want to spend a lot behind a sector that is going to be a black hole if it is going to be run by them or run by the GUYSUCO officials in the way it was done prior to when we changed it in our term. Because all the billions that are going in now, 7 billion almost by the 1st of December, and an additional 2 billion. Now, I don't trust their figures of that 2 billion. They will get lots more money than the 2 billion during the course of the year for sugar. That 2 billion is largely for capital works. But as the industry has shown over the last 5 years, 6 years, every time GUYSUCO run to the government almost every month for more monies. And of course, as Donald Ramotar indicated in his letter, there have been an employment resurrection with big salaries, and they want big vehicles, and they want a whole set of other things. So they are going to run to the government for lots more than that is part and parcel of expenditures 2021. So at the end of the year, you're going to get a humongous amount, and hardly any work will get going there. It will be massive spendings, and those massive spendings will have tremendous corruption behind them. Even Donald Ramotar was talking about the corruption at GUYSUCO in relation to the tractors, very expensive tractors, $1.2 billion for 40 tractors.
Well, let's
when
talk.
You could have gone.
Let's talk a little bit about that. When the new AFC took office in 2015, I think one of the first things that was learned, that was told to the new administration by Dr. Rajendra Singh, who was then the CEO, was that GUYSUCO was bankrupt. After 23 years under the PPPC government, GUYSUCO was bankrupt. That's one of the first things that we learned. You often tell the story of how the government took on GUYSUCO frontally, injecting over a period of time $36 billion into GUYSUCO, and then proceeding to right size GUYSUCO, which is where we were when we left administration. And in this letter to the editor this morning, among the things that Mr. Ramotar says, he says that he is unimpressed by the management of GUYSUCO, bearing in mind that we were severely condemned by the PPPC administration for our management of GUYSUCO. So this is former President Donald Ramotar, and also, if memory serves me right, former chairman of GUYSUCO, is saying first that he's unimpressed by the management of the sector. He goes on to say that expensive vehicles and huge salaries seems to be the order of the day at GUYSUCO, instead of returning the industry to economic viability.
Oh, that is Donald knows a lot about the sugar industry. Myself and Donald, however, depart on the fact that Donald, as more socialist in his thinking, wants the industry to go back to all 6 estates producing. Now, I cannot understand why up to today Donald is with that approach, because Skeldon is dead, dead, dead. The 200 million US dollars that we have already spent as Guyana's from Guyana's treasury, whether in the form of loans from IDB and the World Bank and the CDB, and even the monies that were supposed to come into our coffers via the European Union tranches of about a million or 10 million euros every year for 11 years, all have been misspent on that Skeldon modernization factory.
And day
And
by day,
it is beyond
telling us that
redemption.
Wells is dead.
Yeah, that's right. And Donald is aware of that. So I don't know why he's trying to kill himself behind the Skeldon factory. And do you know that the other factory, like Wales, has become derelict? Wales is beyond redemption too. And of course, we merged the Albion with Rosal because Rosal too was having huge problems. And so what we did was to right size. It will be Blairmont and what's the other two? The let me see if I have them here.
Bear in mind, it was the PPP that closed
Blairmont,
Diamond.
Albion, and IFLOT. Blairmont, Albion, and IFLOT. And what you'll have there is spending what you're spending in Skeldon, spend it on those 3 estates. Spend it on the estates and the factories that have a capacity to bring sugar up back. It will be almost half the production, but that is what we need to make it profitable for purposes of selling there to the Caribbean market, our specialized US market, and so on. That gives us that special price. You go and open back the other 3, you produce more, then you sell to where? You are going to sell for 14 cents and produce for 28 cents US per pound. And that is madness. Whereas if you do produce for the 26, if you efficientize production, there are some markets in the Caribbean that give you about 26, 28 cents. And so you're going to break even. And as you get more efficient with the 3 estates and factories, Blairmont, Albion, and IFLOT, you will then see the industry going forward. Correct. Rather than to spend. But only, recently, we came by information as to what is really going on with the sugar industry and why the Jagdewite faction of the PPP wants it to go that way. Now remember, they got 2 factions in the PPP here. One, a Ramotar factory that is writing that the option that we must go is what he wrote there in today's paper yesterday.
Clearly there are 2 factions. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that a little later on.
And the other faction is the Jagdeo faction, which would like to see the privatization of this thing. Remember, the people now that want to buy this sugar, all 5 estates, if it is possible, there are some people out there that want to buy it over. What Jagdeo was told was that the thing, you got to spend some money on their estates, rehabilitate as far as you can go. It can't be profitable, and then you'll have to come to the realization that we got to privatize, we got to divest. And then he will divest to a certain consortium made up of local businessmen and certain Indian businessmen financed by a Saudi Arabian firm. That is what Bara Jagdeo is doing. So instead of telling the people you want Skeldon Estate, come in and take it, offer a good, reasonable market price and divest the thing. No, he wants to take our local monies, invest it there, and then we'll divest. Now that is what Ramotar is very much against. Ramotar, rightfully, as an option, that is totally what there is an oligarchic mentality about the Jagdeo faction. Give it off to these big businessmen, whether they're from India and so on. And by the way, we understand that that Indian firm has better technologies and also better management systems, but it also is going to bring in some Indian laborers to work here.
But
That's the whole motivation. So rehabilitate as best as you can, fool the Guyanese that you're going to still own it. And then when says Narayan Sabas, I can't do one thing more here. We can't make more money. Y'all gonna have to give me $1 billion a month to pay sugar workers. Then Jack Day will say, well, I have tried and I'm now going to divest it. Just like how he tried, and then he got and built Skeldon factory, and the thing turned out to be more than a white elephant. It turned out to be a dead elephant. So we have to understand what is happening and where our monies are going to go. 7 billion last year, another 2 billion under the PPP government. We tried hard to help save the thing by sending the $1 billion a month to help save sugar workers jobs. But then we had to put a halt to it. But we didn't put a halt to the entire 6 estates. We did it right sizing. And after that, we then went and asked European Union, have you given all the monies? They said, we gave all the monies. From since 2004, 10 million euros was being given to the government of Guyana for sugar. And they did not rehabilitate any of the estates. He gone and he put all the egg in one basket and scale them, and the basket get whole.
Mr. Ramjattan, when one reads Guyanese history, for instance, you read Professor Emeritus Winston McGowan in Guyanese history, who tells us that at one time, cotton, we were the #1 producer of cotton in the world. Is sugar going the same place in terms of world markets changing? You lose dominance, demand for the product is no longer there. And so the industry, whether you pump a billion US into it or 100 billion, suffers the exact same fate.
Absolutely. And that is the reality of the modern world. Apart from what I have said all up to this point, I want to add these points. That I have gone to Skeldon, you know, in the parliament there, you had my boy Ashley Singh saying that how he went to Skeldon market and how the people glad that they pull him back. Well, I've been to Skeldon and I've spoken to hundreds of people. And they all saying, by them little boy never want to walk at the cane farm there. They got big cane farmers and so on in Skeldon that is supposed to supply additional sugar cane to the factory. They said them little children this that now grow up and so on, they don't want nothing to do with sugar. And it is true. If when you are going to be wealthy, as we are going to be wealthy with the oil and all the ancillary and the nuclear effect of an oil industry will be so many shore-based activities, increased agriculture to help the people get their food and their livestock and their pork and whatever. All of that. The Guyanese within these estate areas, they don't want to go and cut cane and then fetch cane and then go throw them inside the pond. This cane mentality, because of this thing called this smartphone and the internet and social media, them you think, you know, I just sweat when I watch a cane cut a cotton cane. I come from them area, the quarantine. It is one of the hardest, most tedious work you can think about. And we have not gone into the mechanization because the way our cane fields are, you can't, because they got like beds. And if you want to cut cane with machine, it got to be a flat land, like some portions in India. And the mechanization will be a difficult task. But even if you have the mechanization, you can do it for the 3 estates in a certain way and certain fashion and all of that. But it still will be a difficult modus operandi in the sugar industry.
And let me ask the same question from another standpoint, like the Amila Falls project that technology has overtaken, because you can now produce power with less investment intensive schemes. Has technology overtaken the production of sugar in terms of the kinds of production costs that we have here?
Well, look, technology, I mean, if you're trying to speak about technologies in other countries, it could very well be. But the other countries too that produce sugar and far cheaper than Guyana has what is called massive labor forces. I notice that Donald makes the point. about Cuba and India. Well, Cuba got about 10 million people for an area that is about 1/4 of Guyana. And the Cubans got a huge labor force. We don't have that labor force. And the little labor force that we got, they are moving away from sugar. A whole set of quarantine people gone America, all the medium manager, them lower bracket manager, the superintendents, the cane gang leaders, all of them, plenty of them gone overseas. And their children are like that too. They focus now not on that tedious labor as I mentioned. So you're not going to get anybody working there. And it is difficult. That is why Mr. Pandey from the Skeldon factory had a big fight out with that Jagabat called Sis Narayan Singh. And that is why, quite frankly, Ramotar is vexed and is unimpressed. Because that same CEO for the GUYSUCO now used to be the CEO or some financial director for the flour mill.
Yeah.
And he ended up with a false name. I ain't going to tell you the false name because somehow I still regard him as my little brother, you know. We go back a long time in the PYO. But I have to be very critical of him. And Donald is right. Them guys want big vehicles, SUVs, and all kind of fancy thing. Now, that ain't going to get the sugar industry anywhere. Plus, it's going to make sugar workers vex. Donald is still maintaining that he would have preferred a Rad Singh. But Rad Singh did not do anything better, and he was getting almost 18,000 US a month.
And as I said, the industry went bankrupt under Rad Singh.
Exactly. Well, it went bankrupt before Rad Singh. Long before Rad Singh.
Let me ask you this. In this letter, Mr. Ramotar seems to admit to the right sizing of the industry under the new AFC. Because some of what he's recommending here has been done by us. For instance, he said that lands should be given to workers in groups to produce cane for the publicly owned factories. This would be a real help in improving workers' conditions and help to make them more than just depending on wages, but on being shareholders. I remember, for instance, land was given to cane farmers at Wales, and the government has recently taken back those very lands.
Yeah, well, that is part and parcel of the Sustainable Livelihoods program, in which you now had to give, but you had to give to farmers who are going to take it and plant, but not farmers take it and speculate. And that is why we were very, very discerning in how we move towards giving people the land. Well, of course, that too is a program, and they start planting other crops, and the other crops are very, very profitable. So we have to get to these other crops. Coming back to your point, cotton became #1 producer in the world, but then it evolved out of it. Sugar in, let's say, Trinidad. Sugar was the biggest crop in Trinidad. So you don't work yourself to a frenzy by the emotionalism of the argument, as I noticed Donald is doing. The emotionalism must be cut now, because we have found oil, and there will be a tremendous amount of other sectors around oil, but we must also make our agricultural diversification with the purpose of being profitable. Not because you get the oil money, you can go and spend it now or borrow, which we'll have to pay it back by taxpayers in the future, and to spend in the sugar industry. That is crazy. I mean, at some point in time, sugar will not be. And there are lots of other countries that are diversifying into a number of other kinds of sugars and so on. The sugar consumption in the world, because it's increasing because of the population-wise, there will be a certain drop in the population in a couple of years in the European countries and in America and so on. And what will happen there? You're going to spend all this money. Instead of that, the 3 estates that were closed down, where we pay the termination benefits and all of that, and the severance benefits and so on, they should utilize that for other crops. They got, I think there was a 4 Ps program: plantains, pumpkins, prawns, and something else. I forgot the peas now, the whatever it is. But it is an important program that we should spend money in. This prawns is an important thing. A lot of people now want fishing license. You know, talk about aquaculture that you can do the prawns inside inshore kind of fishing arrangements. Execute on those kinds of plans for the agricultural sector. Don't pour all your money because of the politics of a sugar sector that always had big constituency support for the PPP. No, it is not right. And the constituency too do not necessarily want that sector as the basis for the employment of their children and children's children to come in future. It is where Guyana would want its children to be in service-oriented jobs, where there will be in offices and it will be intellectual. We got some of the brightest people in the Caribbean every year, 18, 19, 21, subject CXC. Do you want that kind of orientation in job creation? Not going to get them with that 22 and cutting cane whole night, a whole day. And then, you know, and the inside of that sugar industry, because of the tedious labor and the very uneducated, skilled labor, you get the highest rates of suicide, domestic violence, drinking of rum, and all kind of things. You got to move the people out of, wean them out of sugar, because sugar is the one that is the one thing that is causing all these problems. And then to pour taxpayers' money into a black hole that is not going to ever. But I come back to this point here. This is the oligarchy, and Jagdev is smart. He's now very, very clever. He's going to utilize this, and then in another 2 years, well, you still can't get it right, CS, knocks CS off by that time, and then says, look, we have to divest because this thing is going nowhere. And after spending about $20-30 billion to try a rehabilitation, he sell it to certain interest, which will be subservient to him. Guyanese businessmen in a partnership arrangement with certain foreigners. And that is why at page 27 in the budget, they made it quite clear and they emphasized when you read it. He included, Mr. Speaker, the matter of making these centers profitable again will include, but not be limited to public-private partnerships. That is where they are going.
Yeah.
They want to outsmart even GAU. Barrett don't respect no GAU. As one time, if you want to close them down, you ask Moses Nagamutu about it, and ask the fellow that died in Cuba, the successor to him. What's his name? C. Paul Narayan. You know, the trade union leader that died in Cuba was my good friend. And so
Kamal Chan.
Kamal knows about all these tricks in the trade that the Jagde will go through. And then he says it just like how he said that this boy, Sherrod Duncan, used to walk $1 million to Ramjattan. A brutal lie. And he comes with a straight baby face. Yeah. And you know how much, especially my East Indian brothers, will believe that chap. Oh my God, they will believe him.
Told me about that. But coming back to Mr. Ramotar seemed to have peeped that card, that this is what they're going to do. They're going to sell it off.
You notice that?
It's an admission that they have failed the sugar industry for a second, if not a third and a fourth time, because they are the ones who manage the sugar industry well, and it can be saved, and you don't have to right size, and you can keep all the people and all the estates open. They still haven't opened whales. They're turning whales now to gas to sugar. And you know, you've articulated for us what is happening with Skeldon. And Ramotar says as much here. And one is wondering whether, and I think you've already answered this, but to elaborate and to expand on it, it betrays the factions now within the PPPC.
Oh, yes. It has always been the case. You see, Donald and them come from a very traditional working class orientation, but after the kind of attitude and approach to economics brought on by Barrett, he believes in this oligarchy, a set of people who must control the commanding heights of Guyana. And he started it under his regime with the sale of Sonata textiles to certain people and things like that at giveaway prices, and a whole host of other things, giveaway prices. And that is what he's going to do here. But he is so friendly to this consortium of investors that he said, hold on, boss, I'm going to give you a better deal. We're going to spend a couple more $1 billion, and then when it can't work, I can hand it over to him. And because by that time, nobody will be interested but them. And that is what is going to happen here. And then he brings in all these these consortium people who will even bring in laborers, because it is the labor uh, that is the problem, not the capital so much. It's when the people come in with their money and they got plenty money. You can't get more money than Saudi Arabia. When they come in with their money, the next thing they will be advised is we gotta get laborers. And where you could get plenty laborers from? They don't want to bring them from Haiti. They don't want to bring them from India. And that is what this whole thing is about. It's cleverly worked out. It's schemed out.
Here's what Mr. Ramjar says. It is time the government, the PP government, pays close attention to what is taking place at GUYSUCO. One would think that since this is one of their flagship industries, they will be paying close attention. He says if this is not done, then the point would be reached where the government would look for the easy way out and accept privatization of the industry. They would say, we tried, we have put in a lot of money, but it has not worked. Therefore, we have no other option but to sell out the industry. That would be a huge collective slap in our faces and a great letdown to our ancestors who invested their life's blood in sugar. Donald Ramotar.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the point I am making. It is all a setup with the new leaders. That is why, that is why Bharat wants to be there. He can control. It's his third term under Irfan Ali instrument, is being the mere instrument. And he is now controlling the thing. These are the big things that he wants to have a handle on. And there are not very many discerning members in the leadership of that party. They all say yes, yes, yes. They all, kowtow and toe his line as if he's the greatest genius they got economically. But the man is a Putinian in the sense that he's going to create his oligarchy with state assets, as he had done prior to 2015. And that is the danger of this whole thing.
That brings me to my other question. Donald Ramotar, former president of the Cooperative Oil Producing Republic of Guyana, former chairman of GCOM, he understands this issue, this Ramotar dynamic, this Jagdu dynamic rather, from a different perspective from most Guyanese. He has seen this movie before, this Putin-Medvedev dynamic, because in one instance, in one iteration of the PPP's government, he was Medvedev and Jagdu was Putin. So he has seen this Ali Jagdeo stage show. What does Ramotar know that we don't know?
Ramotar knows everything. But look, the politics of it will mean, first of all, that he's going to shut up. And if he just don't want to shut up shop, he's going to now write letters like these in an industry that is very close to his heart. And I could understand that.
His blood is in the sugar industry.
That's correct. That's correct. And his support base came from the sugar industry. Bharat care where his support base come from, because he know it's men with money and the creation of an oligarchy that is going to run, because he is on that oligarchic trip, like what is happening in Russia after the Soviet Union breakup. The privatization of state assets to all those big, rich party officials and their friends and their families, together with investments from overseas and so on, people that supported those. And then you have oligarchic kind of rule. It's something that Chetty used to teach us about. I am well aware of this. And that is to the hamstringing of the working class. But this casting, although have an appreciation of, I want to be more or less a nationalist. It should be for Guyanese. And the best option is not the Ramotar option, is not the Jagdeo option. It was the AFC APNU option, whereby you right size and then you utilize the lands for other crops or other the 4 Ps, as I mentioned, and you can open housing estates there and You can sell some of that land to private people for them to get into ventures, and they take their own capital and go and find what jobs they will create. That is the kind of thing we opted for. But so the option that was best, because we wouldn't have put any more billions in it, like 7 and now 2 and another 20 during the course of the year. No, you got to now start getting the GUYSUCO itself, selling off some of the land and so on, get some monies, make the 3 factories profitable, get the markets in and around the Caribbean at the highest prices so that you can then at least break even. And then get about 9,000, 10,000 workers who are going to be, by that next 3-4 years, far more skilled people having worked there as young men and so on. But no, you ain't got nobody, and you want to go and deal with 6 estate and factory, and you can't deal with 3. You know, the thing does not make sense. And the world market prices for sugar has plummeted so badly. And then, of course, as I said, the next generation of Guyanese in these estate areas don't want to be estate cane cutters. And that is right. They deserve to be weaned off of the thing, go into so many other training exercise or agriculture that could be far more profitable. Not cane, it will not be. Not on the terrain here in Guyana. So those are the points I wish to make on the sugar, and let people understand in this evening's ring. Big problems inside of the PPP and the factions and the real. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple questions left before I let you go.
Okay.
You understand the perspective of the PPP beyond a lot of the average Guyanese. You understand that it's put up or shut up or get the hell out. You often talk about being in the belly of the beast. Donald Ramotar seems to be at a crucible moment in his life, in his leadership, as a person, as a leader in the PPP. What would you advise him based on what he has written?
Well, I have advised them so many times, to the extent that I got myself expelled. The thing is, you got to democratize that party. That party is too centralized. You remember the Alliance for Change. People could talk their minds against the Ramjattan. Every now and again, you get somebody, whether it's somebody from Linden or like Carrington or even David Patterson, or even you share this cuss me down now and again. You have to be liberal and democratic. And that is what our freedom, and it might seem chaotic, but allow the freedom of speech. And that is what Barrett and those people did not allow in their party. Now, it does mean that a party could be very disciplined because of that. But there's a downside to it, in that you cannot get the best out of your leadership because you can't argue with them and so on. And that is what is the problem with Donald. It is the problem that happened with Ralph Ramkaran and Moses Nagamutu. I had warned them that we have to enhance democracy internally. And that is why in 2002, inside of the, I think it was the Portland Congress, I had passed, proposed 4 pieces of reforms to expand the democracy of the party. And even they were saying a couple of things that give me the impression that the timing right. Well, it is never too late, but or too early for democracy inside a political party. And that is what has happened. Barrett was president, and then against the rules and norms, he has come back and is literally a president. He knew that, and that is where he's a good classic student of Putin, because you got 2 terms in Guyana, 2 terms, and you must go, like Donald, like whosoever else was president and so on. But this guy ain't gone anyway. He uses somebody, and he's right. And that is against the norm. You don't get Barack Obama, you don't get Bill Clinton and them doing that. And the norms that are supposed to cohere with our constitutional written provisions, just like in America and so on, they're not there. And he says, no, there's nothing preventing me from becoming a vice president and all of that. That is crack. That is totally wrong. But he has the support of a large base based on ethnicity. He has the support of the Donald Ramotar and all of them in relation to that. And that is what they are going to be now consumed by this monster they created. And that is what is happening.
My final question. Mr. Ramotar spoke, President Ramotar spoke about all the unnecessary spending currently in GUYSUCO, the way the management is not in touch with what is supposed to be happening. He fell short of saying that Narine Singh should go. Had you the authority to pronounce on this matter, what would have been your determination in terms of SACE and the CEO?
Well, in a way, I had pronounced on SACE because I remember SACE when we won the elections in 2015, coming and pleading that he would like to head GUYSUCO. And I indicated to SACE that no, SACE, you don't really have experience in GUYSUCO. The players that are there, we will ask them to do certain studies for us as to where it is going, and we might even do a commission of inquiry. But he said, no, he would like to be that, and he helped us in 2015 and this and that and whatever. So I tell him, boss, look, you know about sugar. The only thing probably you know about sugar is how to eat them. I always say that because that was the thing that I told him, quite frankly, somewhere in Canada where we were, and also over the phone. And right now, knowing how arrogant apparently the behavior is from the CEO, and that is what Mr. Pandey has indicated. And I understand that there are some other people who might very well resign too. They have indicated that it's either you go along with him, and or you just shut up and do as he says. That is not how you run. That was the problem initially with the sugar industry. A centralized management system. Hardly anything Gau could have tell them. Even under the PPP regime, they did not want that worker participatory management system. No. And it is coming back to haunt the industry again, and to then put a CEO that knows this one-upmanship. Well, where are we going? And then, of course, all over the place saying that how he is doing good and he's going to get and more plant planting and this and that and whatever. Then more plant would have, in any event, produced some packaging sugar. That was one of the things that we didn't, in a sense, say we are going to do down with, that we are going to enhance that. But this fella's attitude towards other superintendents and managers and estate managers and so on is not going to be the right thing for the industry. And I think he should be immediately be knocked off, just like what happened. And I think that will come in time by Bharat, like what happened at the flour mill.
Mr. Ramjattan, I know you're working on your budget presentation, and I know there's a press conference by the Alliance for Change tomorrow at 11. I think it is where some more of your thoughts might come out on this, but I just wanted to pick your brain with the 2 minutes that we have left, whether there's anything that stood out to you in this budget, whether you're impressed with anything or whether you are surprised by any element of the budget 2021.
Well, I had spoken to my senior leadership of the party that the budget will ultimately be a continuation of a lot of the projects that we had started, because I don't see them varying plenty. But what they have done is, but not acknowledge that a lot of the infrastructural works that will go on will be largely what we had proposed in an infrastructure vision that David Patterson had done for our cabinet. And also some other things that we had. But that is one thing that I think has struck me, that they have continued a couple of them, but they are not being intellectually honest. They are very much plagiaristic, but they're taking everything and they, in a sense, that they do this and they're really utilizing those infrastructural programs for their purposes. And I could say, well, fine, that is okay, but be honest about it. Honest about some of the projects and so on. The other thing is that they, and this is a negative in a sense, very much a negative, is that they have done nothing for the public servants, even when it comes to that salary. I have been checking it myself, and there isn't there any monies for improving the salaries of public servants in view of the difficult COVID arrangement that we have, where food prices have gone almost 2 or 3 times in the market. You go in there, and my wife has been indicating to me that the prices in the market have gone up drastically. Fruits and vegetables, and even at the supermarket level, so many things have gone up. And although they're plugging away that they have reduced VAT and this and that and whatever since the last 2020 budget, none of these prices have come down, because that is the way of the culture and the norm in Ghana society. It is a tomfoolery to think that, we're going to get businessmen bringing down prices when you bring down the VAT. It does not happen. And that is why Winston Jordan had indicated that that is something that you do not necessarily do, because the consumers do not get the benefit of it.
Great. Mr. Ramjattan, thank you for spending this time with us this evening. Again, we'll be looking forward to the press conference tomorrow at 11, the Alliance for Change press conference, and for some more of your thoughts on how we develop this nation. Thanks again for spending this time in the ring this evening.
Thanks very much.
Great.
And a good night again.
Leader of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan, former Minister of Public Security, able Minister of Public Security, and current Member of Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why this evening, based on all that we have said on GUYSUCO, it's a good night to all except Zulfikar Mustafa, the current Minister of Agriculture, because Sistarine Singh is happening on his watch. And all that the former minister has articulated, the former president has articulated, President Donald Ramotar, former Minister of Public Security, has articulated on GUYSUCO. Sistarine is happening on his watch. The total wastage of taxpayers' money on expensive tractors and big salaries for GUYSUCO managers when the company is failing to produce a profit is happening on his watch. So it's a good night to all except Minister Zulfikar Mustafa. The minister promised in August 2020, when he came into office, that there would be studies done on the viability of GUYSUCO before they began investing in GUYSUCO. And we aren't seeing any of that. We aren't seeing any of that. And so the tragedy of GUYSUCO in this second iteration is happening on his watch. So it's a good night to all except Minister Zulfikar Mustafa. Folks, as you know, every evening we always advise you on COVID-19, and this is no different. It is real, folks. It is real, and the spread of COVID-19 continues locally. It continues locally. The figures today, there are 13 new cases of COVID-19, which takes the total confirmed cases nationally to 8,262. And folks, when the PPP came to government, August 2nd, 2020, fraudulent albeit, there were 474 cases of COVID-19, and there were 21 deaths. Today, there's 188 dead from COVID-19 under the PPP fraudulent administration, and there are 8,262 confirmed cases. 8,262. Folks, we advise you to continue to social distance, continue to wear your mask, continue to sanitize. You know you're not supposed to be in groups larger than 10, and even when you're in those groups, you're supposed to be social distancing. Folks, go out if you have to. Party if you absolutely have to. Nothing is worth losing your life over. It is serious business out there. And as you know, every day, Monday to Friday, I spend an hour on Zoom in the mornings from 9 to 8 one-on-one with members of the public. Any issue of concern that you have, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. The Zoom credentials are on Twitter. If you follow me from that end, it's tagged to the top of my Twitter page, Sheridan Avery Duncan at Twitter. Follow me there if you're on Twitter. It's tagged to my Facebook page, Sheridan Avery Duncan on Facebook. It is pinned to the top of that page. Every day from 9 to 10. It's just one other medium in which you can meet me. Folks, message me on Facebook. If you message me on Facebook, on my Facebook page, it comes directly to my WhatsApp. If you message me on my Facebook page, it comes directly to my WhatsApp. So there's an option. You can send a message to me on Facebook, on my Facebook profile. You can send me a message on my WhatsApp. You can, send a message on Twitter, on Instagram. It's Sheridan Duncan. You're on LinkedIn. I'm there as well. I want to meet you because I'm your MP. I'm not just an opposition MP. I'm a member of parliament for all Guyanese. And so I want to hear your concern if you have any. Folks, I want to thank you guys for joining this evening. And as we said, it's a good night to all, except Zulfikar Mustafa, because the tragedy that is GUYSUCO is happening under his watch. Folks, do stay safe, and thanks for joining.